things that have, but obviously been really volatile, or places that you have not been able to hide that you once thought you could, like munis, which I already mentioned. You had some moves on Tuesday,
yep,
which are still relevant to the conversation today. Normally, if someone comes and says, well, I did these moves on Tuesday and it's now Thursday and we've had these kind of markets, I'd be like, that's so like last year.
Yeah.
But you did sell munis, which I'd like to hear more about, and the core aggregate bond ETF, the AGG. You have some other stuff, but tell me about those first. Why you sold munis rather than buy on what was a couple days ago, the worst day in some 31 years.
It was, but so munis are very specific, and ours are California munis that we own for mostly California client base. But when we looked in aggregate at how they'd held up year to date, they had held up remarkably better versus the broader stock market. And so they had grown as a percentage of our clients' portfolios. And so when we looked at what could we transition to add a little bit more to our equity allocation, at what we felt was a really interesting moment with a long-term perspective, we trimmed some of the bond exposure, which had grown. It was bigger than we wanted it, bigger than our targets, and added a little bit to stocks. I can't tell you that was going to be the bottom on Tuesday.
No, we discussed that.
It was an interesting time from our perspective for a long-term investor.
But you bought both the S&P and the equal weight.
We did.
Correct?
Yes.
Just tell me more about the psychology behind that.
Yeah, so psychology behind that, we still think there's a case for broadening beyond the Mag 7. But given how much the Mag 7 has fallen, and really, especially in the first quarter, was the worst performing part of the equity market, we do think there's opportunity there too. So we added to both, a small addition to both. But as I said, from what we're looking at is if we do get another leg lower, we may add more to our equity exposure. But for now, we're happy to just add a little bit to both of those vehicles.
Okay.